What is up? Am I uh am I live right now? Oh my. Oh my. Oh my. I'm trying a new I'm trying a new setup. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Okay, so I'm trying to live from Zoom's platform instead of from YouTube's platform. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. The main reason why is I think it will let me share audio while I stream, whereas when I stream from YouTube's platform, it doesn't let me. But I'm excited to talk to stock today on a slow Juneteenth Friday. Congratulations to you guys for hanging in there in the 5555 staying alive sub club and period on GameStop stock. I mean, we have been at 2150 for like 6 weeks now. So it's pretty incredible to think about really how demoralizing of a run we have been on here. And if you're still in the game, kudos to you. We're going to talk a little bit of the stock if you want to. We're going to update some PowerPacks polls to get a feel for what Q2 is looking like. I really haven't touched any of Q2 logging yet. I've also updated a little bit of the kind of different scenarios we learned from Q1. Excited to get into that. Also, eBay's Prop 4 vote was declined. We'll talk a little bit about that and just hang out. I know probably not too many of you guys are going to jump in because we got a World Cup soccer game that's about to start. But I wanted to test out streaming on Zoom's platform to see how it works out. So I'm glad you guys are here. Happy Friday, by the way. Okay, Adam and Alfred, and the other 15 of you guys that are in here, or I guess other 13 of you guys. I'm gonna try to play some audio. Y'all let me know if the audio comes through. Got it? Oh, what's up, Jeff? So I know you can hear me. What I'm wondering is, like, if I play this video, will you hear the video? And is it come through super loud, super soft, or not at all? Okay, let's see. As far as the numbers that PowerPacks is doing, because obviously that is substantially relevant to the valuation of PowerPacks, which is substantially relevant to the fair valuation of GameStop. Master your money for your future. Welcome to Budget for Life. My name is Jeremy. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm a financial advisor. This video, though, is not financial advice. Thanks for those who have subscribed, commented, liked. You hear it. Let's go. Let's go. Slightly louder than my speaking. Okay. But not, does it hurt your ears? Lee Dola says perfect. Let's go. This has been stressing me out big time because we're just 3 weeks away from the annual shareholders meeting, and I want to be able to live stream the shareholders meeting, right? So like I I haven't figured out how to do that because I'm genuinely not a professional YouTuber. I'm really not I'm not tech savvy by any means either. So this is super great news. Wow, that just made my day. Thank you guys very much. Also, I got this coffee for free today because a coffee shop was running a little, hey, if you're a dad, you can have a free coffee. So there's two things that made my day today. And honestly, as far as GameStop stock goes, was not a bad day to have a short trading week. You know what I mean? I'm not upset that there's no trading today on this Friday, June 19th. Said, you know what? We can just cut it. We can cut it at 4 days. Whoopsie says goodbye. Okay, goodbye, Whoopsie. Hello and goodbye. Great to see ya. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but maybe you're gonna leave now. Just got to know ya. No, I'm super excited though that I can stream audio because that will uh that will be useful in the future. So Prop four, I'm just going to talk on that real quick. Prop four failing. What was Prop four? It was a proposition from eBay shareholders to decline, to lower the threshold for what amount of ownership of eBay is required in order to call a special meeting. The proposition was to lower it from 20% down to 10%. It failed. So what does that mean? It means that if you want to call a special meeting, aka if you are an eBay shareholder, a concentrated shareholder, and you want to require eBay to vote on something, eBay shareholders to vote on something before their annual, shareholder meeting cycle, then you would need to have 20% ownership to call that meeting. Now, here's the thing. So GameStop's just about to cross over 10% ownership of eBay. So it would have been nice if the proposition had passed because eBay could then, GameStop in its own right, could then call a special meeting for eBay. And they probably will target getting up to even 15% of ownership. However, the rule to call a special meeting is not limited to a singular shareholder. So what does that mean? Like if the proposition had passed, GameStop by themselves could exercise their calls and call a special meeting and require eBay shareholders to vote on whether or not they approve GameStop purchasing eBay. They would have the opportunity to force that vote to take place with their own 10% share count. Now that it's failed, what happens? It just means that they need any number of other shareholders to come together to collectively represent at least 20% of eBay's outstanding share count in order to call that special meeting. Functionally, does that change anything for GameStop? Probably not. Why? Because GameStop would not risk calling the special meeting too early if they didn't think that they had the representation already in their shareholder base. If GameStop thought they might lose the vote, they wouldn't call the vote. So whether GameStop has 9 or 10 or 15% doesn't really matter. And whether GameStop, like what really matters is who are all the shareholders of eBay and how many of them can GameStop count on to vote yes for their proposal to buy eBay. And that's the number that we won't know because those are conversations that are happening behind the scenes and under tables. But that's when GameStop will collect, collectively pull together a couple of those shareholders to call the special meeting to then force the vote. There's no reason why they would have done it yet. Some people, I know it's been a demoralizing stretch on the chart. Like, can we just appreciate how lame of a stretch this has been? So exciting, right? In January, February, all this news about we're gonna go after a big fish. Then we're speculating who might it be. Then Q1 numbers come out and the fish is identified as eBay. And now we're rallying right after hours touched above 28 a share. And now here we are at 21.5, which is where we were to start the year. No movement at all, despite GameStop literally having the most profitable quarter they have ever had in their company's history, and the most profitable segment of their company growing incredibly fast, now representing the majority, right, the largest portion of their revenue, and operating income doing more in Q1 than in Q4. I mean, absolutely unheard of as a retailer. Absolute insanity from the fundamental value growth, and yet the stock has done absolutely nothing. So, again, if you have been staying alive, cheers. If you've been buying more, cheers. If you've been joining the channel as fans and friends, cheers. All earnings go to DR's Book Jimmy Shares. The next payday for Budget for Life YouTube is the 21st, I think, which means that Monday morning we should be able to lock up some nicely priced shares into the Budget for Life Infinity Pool. So I am excited for that. Sorry for all the rabbit trails, but I did want to give just a little bit of uh, sympathy, empathy to any of those who are emotionally really kind of struggling with this basically almost 30% drop from the peak after hours to where it is now. Or even if you want to be more conservative, like a 20% drop, that's pretty tough, especially when things are going so well. And you thought that, man, these things going so well will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It hasn't been yet, but all of the stars are aligning for it, for the camel's back to be broken. So that's part of why I wanted to live stream too, is just to offer a little bit of condolences, a little bit of support, a little bit of emotional encouragement, as well as to just talk about where is the stock and where do we see it heading, as well as to say what's up in the chat. Um, John Chess, great to see you. He says maybe it's time to let the eBay dream go. What happens if I click on this? Nothing happens, right? Yeah, no. I was wondering if I could like make your chat pop up. Um, Move on to some less leveraged opportunities. Stock would skyrocket from the moment Jimmy would walk away from this attempt. Yeah, so we'll talk about that, but it still totally remains in the cards that GameStop dumps their eBay shares. And ultimately, the upside of GameStop becomes a little bit lower in the long term because, okay, now you have $10 billion. Dollars. What are you going to do with it? But in the near term, it adds a lot of certainty and security. However, no matter what, GameStop's not going to command in public markets a huge multiple on their net cash sitting in the balance sheet. In my valuation, I do afford them a multiple to their asset management business. I think at least a 1.3x is appropriate, but I could see as high as a 5x multiple being appropriate, as well as future equity raises and or just creative ways of utilizing additional capital. I could totally, I can totally justify giving them some type of premium on their assets, but the overall public market probably won't. And so if GameStop pulls out of eBay, in the short term, it raises the floor, but it doesn't really necessarily send Jimmy to the moon. Um, of course, if they double down a eBay sale with buybacks, buybacks help because it lowers this number. It lowers the cash number. And so there's fewer dollars that you're having to justify valuing, and you can just increase EPS by buying up your own shares, which then obviously helps the share price appreciate. But they've only approved 2 billion worth of buybacks. So even then there's still 8 billion there that it's like, well, what are we going to do exactly if we don't get eBay? And how do we know that whatever we do is going to yield us a reasonable risk reward? There's not that many diamonds in the rough when it comes to what Cohen's looking for. You know, these quotes from these earlier articles from earlier in the year. I'll say I think he is going to pursue eBay, but I would not be upset if he backed out. But it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, great, short squeeze is right around the corner. It um, is probably more likely that a short squeeze is right around the corner if they do pursue eBay, particularly because they've only approved a $2 billion buyback. If they had approved a $5 or $8 billion buyback, that gets pretty stinking spicy. They've really, at that point, signaled that they might just 100% do the Kansas City Shuffle play that I had kind of talked about on my
What did
channel.
we learn about?
But because they are only approving a $2 billion buyback, to me, that signals that they're not really planning on totally backing out of eBay. I shared, where is it? Right here. eBay is set up for the Kansas City Shuffle. In that video, I described it like a 20% chance that eBay is basically the distraction, and that ultimately what GameStop is going to do is dump eBay and then send it into their own stock to force a squeeze. I think that is now like 10%, maybe 5% chance. I think it's less likely. If the buyback that they approved was higher, then I'd be like 35% chance, like really meaningful chance that they let eBay go. Because that buyback is still relatively low, and they said in their 10Q that they intend to exercise their derivative position on eBay this calendar year. They said we intend to exercise it this year. I don't know if I'll be able to pull up that quote in a reasonable enough amount of time, but you can just take my word for it for now. They said they're going to exercise. Well, if they're going to exercise, is exercise in there? These are all the warrants, convertibles, Bitcoin slash warrants. This doesn't say it. Put call pairs. Let's see. Let's see. Does it say it? I want to show you it if I can show you it. Hmm. Okay, it doesn't really say it there. Here it is again. Does it say it here? Here you go. The company. There you go. The real facts, the real DD coming here on the channel. What's up, Chris Clifton? What's up, Battle Rat? PHS Energy, Savvy Snail. Great to see you guys. The company intends to exercise these options within the next 12 months. This is an SEC document. So they can change their intentions, right? I would still give a 5 to 10% chance to the Kansas City Shuffle, but they've told you they intend to exercise the options. And they've also told you that they've only approved 2 billion of buybacks, which still leaves 6 billion at least, if not closer to 8 billion of cash that they need to do something with. And if they're going to do something with cash, I mean, doubling down on the collectibles, high profit, high growth, high demand, high fundamental support as it relates to inflation and the need for stores of value, right? a very, very strategically positioned business for them to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple down on. I mean, that's pretty stinking exciting as far as the use of capital. So, do they do Kansas City Shuffle light? I think that's totally in the cards, but I don't think that's the Moaz moment. If they go say, hey, we're gonna sell we changed our mind, we changed our intentions. We're actually gonna sell these options, or maybe they hold on to the options, right? But they just exercise 2 billion of buybacks, right? They dump 2 billion into the stock, send the stock well in excess of $35 a share, perhaps, and then exercise their eBay options and call the proxy and ultimately acquire eBay at a much more attractive pricing for GME and therefore pricing of how many shares might ultimately be issued, right? The difference between 21 a share and 30 a share is like 300 million shares in the float. I think that's totally, totally possible. Sorry, I'm getting in this big rabbit trail of what if they pull out of eBay entirely. And the summary of what I was just saying is I don't think they're going to give up on eBay entirely. Prop 4 is not really, Prop 4 getting declined is not a hindrance to them pursuing eBay. The real hindrance is do they know that they have enough eBay shareholder support to get more than 50%? Right? They need more than 50% to have the proposition, the proposal, the bid to acquire eBay approved. They need more than 50% eBay shareholders to vote yes on that. So even if they could initiate the vote at 10%, it doesn't really matter. They need to know that they have the vote locked in and secured. So Prop 4 is not really a hindrance. Could they do buybacks and or maybe even sell some of their options to then do a bigger, bolder offer and bid? It's definitely possible, but I think it would the thought that they completely walk away, I think is very low. The possibility that they pull some strings to change the pricing of their stock and the pricing of eBay's business as it relates to the competitive bid for eBay, I think that's possible. The only thing is collectibles is growing fast and eBay's benefiting from that too. So I think GameStop's best chance to get eBay at the best price is probably to strike sooner rather than later because eBay's floor is going to rise with collectible sales growing. Now, some people, again, we talked about the stock, right? So sad, right? Look at my sadness on a chart. Look, it's red sadness. Red sadness everywhere. So much red sadness. 5 years, right? How long is it going to take? Some people look at this chart and they might say, aha, it's proof this eBay thing's not going to work. Look, the stock was finally heading in the right direction from a fundamental value perspective. And now we screwed ourselves with this eBay pursuit. And we need to back out of eBay so that we can fix our stock. But if you've been tracking with Budget for Life, then you know that I have thought that while it's possible we see modest runs in the stock based on fundamental numbers, that GameStop is not incentivized to initiate Project Rocket, right? To launch their stock into a different type of stratosphere, particularly above 40 a share. GameStop is not incentivized for that to happen until Ryan Cohen's compensation vote comes through. which is on July 7th. We had thought earlier in the year that that would be on June 9th. It seemed like that would happen simultaneously with earnings. But now we know that it will not happen. It didn't happen on June 9th. It's happening on July 7th. We actually have that date now. So I would caution anyone from looking at this most recent 2 months or 1 month or whatever you want to say and think that, look, the eBay bid is failing. The eBay bid is causing this pressure. The eBay bid we need to just give up on eBay and then we can finally see the stock run. I think it's much more likely we see the stock run faster if GameStop does buy eBay. Because then the S&P 500 inclusion is inevitable. The increased EPS, right? The accretive nature of the acquisition is inevitable. Even if Cohen can't cut costs as fast as possible, even if eBay is sabotaging their own financials, overspending on marketing or doing anything they can to make their company less attractive, even if those things are going on, GameStop cost cutting takes longer, right? Just eBay as it currently stands, with the worst possible amount of dilution for the deal to go through, it still ends up being accretive on an EPS basis compared to where GameStop's been historically. And then you have, of course, the huge, huge upside, which is now you basically dominate the collectibles business in America. You also become basically immediately S&P 500 eligible, and that becomes an inevitability. And again, Cohen's comp is already voted on. So even if we back out of eBay, which I think I would still give a 5 to 10% chance of happening, or even if GameStop, maybe they continue to hold and even exercise their eBay position, but maybe they also say, hey, we're going to dump 2 billion into the stock. I don't think that's going to happen until after the comp comes. I don't think GameStop wants the headline of a vote coming in to approve Ryan Cohen to receive billions of dollars of compensation for a market cap hurdle that's already been accomplished. I don't think GameStop is incentivized for their company to be worth at or even near $20 billion before July 7th. So, what does that mean? In my opinion, if this chart looks like this, not from May to July, but from July to September, then I would be personally feeling more discouraged. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not encouraged from May to July. It's not fun. None of us like going down when the company's fundamentals are obviously going up. It's very infuriating, right? It's taken 84 years. It's been a long, grinding gruel of a investment play. But I would not abandon eBay personally, or abandon faith in Cohen personally, or become a shill about GameStop on the internet personally, based on the price action on the stock that happens before the comp plan is voted on. Look at the stock starting July 7th and beyond, and especially July, August, September, right, as these crucial months before October, which is currently the expiration date for the warrants. Now, in July or August, does GameStop say, "Hey, we've extended the warrants. They now expire next October," or like that could totally happen. I'm not saying that MOAS is going to happen on July 7th, period. I just think the green light for meaningful appreciation starts on July 7th. Right now, it is a yellow light, And on July 7th, it becomes a green light. Doesn't mean it's immediate, but I would start getting pretty excited about the potential for July and beyond. Also, Q2 numbers. We'll dive into power packs here in this video, do some logging here together, see what power packs is looking like for Q2. We've thought for 2 quarters now that power packs materiality could be a catalyst for at least a modest improvement to share price, and we are 0 for 2. I thought probably not Q4, but it's possible. And then I thought surely Q1, and I was wrong. But we're learning more and more each quarter about power packs, which I'll dive into. But again, Q2 numbers, when do those come out? Those come out in September. So again, it's like this July to October window that I think the eBay pursuit gets more aggressive. I think it's possible that GameStop has exercised some options, has potentially called a proxy vote. It's also possible that eBay doesn't materialize until next year. However, I don't think it's possible for the stock to trade sideways for another year. I don't think we're at 21, we're stuck at 21.5 until we buy eBay and we're just screwed. Right? If GameStop keeps doing what they're doing on the earnings front, right? Year over year improvement to net income of $340 million. They made $418 million all of last year. And in Q1, they made 340 million more in Q1 than they made in Q1 of last year. Well, what if they do that again? If they do that 3 more times, that means that they'll have a net income that's triple in 2026 what it was in 2025. If they're doing $1 billion a year in net income and they're trading at less than cash value, and by the way, their cash would continue to grow, it's just insanity, right? Again, GameStop doesn't exist in a vacuum. That the depth of that value becomes too enticing for the wealth of the world to stay away from, in my opinion. Too enticing. So I don't think you stay at 21.5, even if eBay hasn't materialized. But I think you start measuring the stock after the comp is secured. Once the comp is secured, then let's get a little bit more impatient. Then let's get a little bit more greedy. Let's start to see, okay, Cohen, you're taken care of. So let's start like, so what are you going to do? Right? It's time. It's time to start moving the needle. But we haven't even started. It's not even day one until that comp is secured. Now I'm bummed because again, if you're talking about me in February of this year, I thought that comp would be secured in June. I thought there's a chance the comp might be secured in April, right? They hadn't decided yet. They hadn't said when this was going to happen. But look at this. This is GameStop's communication. The board reached an agreement with Mr. Cohen regarding the award on January 6th. Its effectiveness is subject to the approval of GameStop stockholders, who will be asked to approve it at a special meeting that is expected to be held in March or April. GameStop communicated that they were intending to hold the special meeting for Ryan Cohen's compensation in March or April. Guess what? It's June and it hasn't happened yet. Thank you, Orion and Muck Muck. They both say smash the like button. Jesse and Maya, great to see you. Jesse says, "Do you think Ryan and Jimmy might try to get to own 20% of eBay since Prop 4 failed, or does he try to do something else?" So they will not go more than 15%. GameStop will not go more than 15% because in Delaware, if you own more than 15% of a company, you then are basically not allowed to acquire them. You can't do a hostile takeover if you've purchased more than 15% of the company. So GameStop GameStop doesn't have to own 20% to call a special meeting. They just need collectively any number of shareholders put together to own 20% or more. Paul Ray says, "Do you think that maybe they delayed the vote because they are currently buying back shares at 25% daily volume and maybe they released that information at the meeting?" I don't think they have started their buybacks yet, personally, because we haven't seen volume move the needle at all. But they can. They can. And if they have, then yeah, it's possible we would get some information at the meeting, but I don't think they would be obligated to update until their September 10Q. They're filing for Q2. So we will see. I do think they will buy back shares between now and July 31st, which would be the end of Q3. What is the actual um, July 2026? What are we looking like? Okay, yeah. July 31st is the last trading day of Q3, so August 1st is the actual last day of Q3. The Saturday following the last day of the month. So any buybacks that GameStop does before July 31st and up to July 31st will be included in the 10Q that they file in September. I honestly could go either. I think if the I mean the comp is in approved July 7th. July 7th comp is approved. After that, the light is officially green. GameStop management is officially incentivized to see the stock appreciate. It's good for the vibes, obviously, shareholder enthusiasm, etc. It's good for Cohen, right? He now gets paid on that appreciation. It is good for the pursuit of eBay. It raises the pricing for which eBay is paid out shares of eBay or shares of GME for the eBay sale and acquisition. So it's all good after the vote's secured. Before the vote's secured, it's a yellow light. It's not a red light. We could see buybacks happen. We could see Roaring Kitty return before July 7th, for example. But after July 7th is when the light goes from yellow to green. So does GameStop see a yellow light and then they floor it, right? They press it on the gas and say we got to get through this yellow light? Or do they see a yellow light, slow down, wait for July 7th for the lights to turn green, and then do they slowly accelerate like a normal human, or do they, once the light's green, do they slam again on the gas and come running out of the gate? In other words, as it relates to the buybacks, do they start dumping buybacks right away, especially if GameStop is still trading at 21.50? Or do they wait 3 weeks so that they don't have to say anything about buybacks on their September filing? They make potentially bait a few more short sellers into thinking that they're going to hold that card only to have, you know, potentially begun significant aggressive buybacks in August that they then won't have to report until their Q3 numbers, which would come out in December, right? How much does secrecy matter for Cohen after this comp is secured, particularly in light of the fact that he's already been very public about his intentions to buy eBay? I think after July 7th, I think some of the value of secrecy kind of goes down. I think a lot of the cards are on the table and it just becomes, kind of like some of the final battles, some of the final bosses to break GME out of this insufferable range and secure their ability to appreciate long term for shareholders and to acquire eBay, securing their long term growth runway, etc. Moth says they see the yellow light and go vroom because buckle up. Yeah, it turns out that buckle up was was a warning for shareholders, not a warning for short sellers. But I'm glad he said it because it turns out we needed that. It's like, well, at least he told us 5 years ago to buckle up because turns out it's been a long 5 years, right? Has it been a long 5 years for any of you guys, or has it flown by? It's been it's been a pretty painful 5 years for me personally. So, anyways, there's some thoughts on the stock overall. Valuation wise, I mean, it's pretty crazy to think about what's going on here in our beloved company. Let's see where we were. Uh, where was the stock at Friday after filing? They filed on 6/11, and the Friday after the 11th was when? What? Okay, on the 12th. Oh, but that's when they filed their 10Q. Their presser came out the week before that, which was on the 2nd. Friday after that would be June 5th. And on June 5th, they closed at 21.80. So they were at 21.8 a share. And what's the float now? It's like 448 after a couple of dilutions. Where are we at here? Couple of stock compensations. 448.7. Let's update this over here too, make sure we're current. 448.7. Boom. Wow. Price. What's A in 10? Okay. Price to book. Nice, nice, nice. Check out earnings. Got to get these calculations right. Boom, boom. AF 28. Price to sales. Q1, 4, 3, 2. Wow. Okay, we got that. This is right, right? 591.5. Is 591.5 still the number here? The balance as of May 2nd, 2026 is 448.7. 447.3 is a year ago. That's 2025. Random YouTube user. All good. Okay, and diluted currently is 592.3. So 448. 7 divided by 448. 7. So let me finish this top part and then I'll explain to you what I'm even doing right here. Wow. Wow. Okay, so I'll pause right here so you can appreciate this and then we'll zoom into the next part. Boom. GME, after these numbers came out, the best numbers that the company's ever done. We have these two columns here, right? Debt versus dilution. What is that all about? That is all about the convertible bonds. Debt column, and most of the things are the same either way, right? The sales numbers don't change regardless of how they treat the convertibles. The thing that changes is as relates to the balance sheet and the share count. Does GameStop pay back the convertibles in cash? In other words, do we account for the convertibles as if they are debt? If so, then they've got a total of $5.1 billion in debt. And their book value then is their assets, their total assets, about 11 billion, minus their 5.1 billion in debt, gives them 5.8 billion in book value or stockholders' equity. Or is GameStop going to ultimately dilute the convertibles, convert the convertibles into shares? Well, if the convertibles are going to convert into shares, and it's GameStop's decision, it's not the bondholders' decision, it's GameStop's decision. If they're going to dilute, well, then this debt never gets paid back. GameStop gets to keep the cash, which means the assets become net assets. That means if they dilute, though, it would increase the float by about 150 million shares. So that's the trade-off, right? You give the cash back and then you only have 450 million shares, or you keep the cash and now you have 600 million shares. That's the decision GameStop will get to make one day. We get to plan for both. If they only have 450 million shares, then they only have about $6 billion in net cash on their balance sheet. If they have 600 million shares, then they have $10 billion of net cash on the balance sheet. How does that influence the way you think about the valuation of the company? Well, if you look at what was the market cap the Friday after filing, I like to track this over time. Compared to Q4, market cap was actually lower. And that's regardless of whether you view it as debt or as dilution. If you view GameStop's convertibles as debt, then the market cap is based on the current float. You're assuming they're going to pay back the debt, meaning they keep the same float. If they're going to convert, then you'd say, hey, let's go ahead and price in that dilution. In other words, GameStop at 21.52, if you're pricing in the dilution of the convertibles, then you'd say that's literally the same thing as GameStop being at 28.41. If you think the convertibles are going to dilute, then 21.52 equals 28.41. It's the same difference. If you think that overnight, right, this dilution is going to happen and the share price is going to remain unchanged, well, 21.52 times 448 is a lot smaller number than 28.52 times 592. But if you stay at 21.52 after you increase your share count to 600 million, that gives you the same market cap as if you were trading at $28 a share at the current 448. That might be a little bit confusing, but let's look at the quarter over quarter change here. What happened to the valuation on a price to book, price to earnings, and price to sales basis from Q4 to Q1? Price to book went from 1.82 if it's debt or 1.36 if it's dilution, down to 1.67 and 1.29. So GameStop, even more, uh, even lower valued, even cheaper, even better priced on a price to book basis. Look at the price to earnings change. They go from a 23 to 31 PE in half to a 12 or a 16 on a PE basis. And that's still assuming that you're giving a multiple to net earnings. It's going to get even crazier when we look at let's net out cash and just look at their operating income. That's what we're about to do. But even if you were, what in the world? Chris Clifton sends 10 memberships. Let's go, Chris. What is up? Let's go. Oh, Chris says he's sending money for DRS shares of GME. And sure enough, you did. Wow. Okay, so welcome, newest fans of the channel. Battle Rat, J Card, Paul Ray, DM Tozers, The Stuvington, Rich Droid, Nisja, Radami Lorenzo, Gamble, McDougall. Wow, let's go. Let's go. Mr. Joler says we're gonna be so rich. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Give it up for Chris on the gifted memberships. Thank you so much. It's amazing. Um, I don't even know I don't even know how to express my thanks, Chris, but thank you. A true hero. We're all in this together, you know? So let's net out their net cash, right? So what is their net cash? Well, again, we just looked at it. If they're going to pay back the convertibles in cash, then their net cash is 5.8 billion. If they're going to dilute, then it's 10 billion in net cash. So you take out the net cash, whether it's paid back in cash or diluted, and you end up with a market cap and an enterprise value of somewhere sub four or even sub $3 billion. This is the enterprise value of GameStop right now, or as of market close. It's actually even a little bit lower now. This is when it was at 21.8. Now it's at 21.5. So a quarter ago, GameStop the enterprise was worth $500 million more than it's worth now on a raw dollar perspective. And let's see what it looks like on an operating perspective. Let me uh let me zoom back out a little bit so we can work in peace. The operating price to earnings and operating price to sales. Wow. Check this out, guys. It's so crazy. One, two, three, four. Oh, plus those losses. Let's see what the new trailing four losses are for US and the other segments. Okay, there's net sales. Here we go. Operating loss. That's for the 3 months ended 2025. So 1.3, and then what else? There's 2024. Let's just take out Europe. How much of that happened in Q1? So this is what happened all of last year. We're trying to net out the operating losses from Canada and Europe to just look at the go forward business operating PE that GameStop is currently valued at. So for the first, so for all of last year, it was 22.2 plus 16.8. No, no, no. Fiscal year ended. Here we go. Here we go. All of last year, it was 22.2 plus 33.5. But we want to net out Q1 of last year because now that is not a part of the trailing 12 month. So we take back out that 22.2 and we take out that 16.8 and we have $16.7 million of net losses attributable to Canada and Europe. But then we want to add back in Q1 of 2026, which adds another 1.3 million in losses for a round $18 million. What does that do? Means you take the operating earnings of the business and you add in another $18 million. That's crazy. There we go. Booyah. So this is actually wonderful that the difference between the go forward business and the current business is shrinking. Check this out. It's less than zero point 0.5 difference on a PE multiple basis. The current business versus the go forward business. What does that mean? The impact of Europe and Canada is getting less and less. In other words, the United States is getting bigger and bigger in the way that it is impacting GameStop's valuation. And the losses from Europe and Canada are no longer able to slow us down. Plus 18. Boom. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Look at it. Look at it. Are you even looking? Right now, market close after Q1 numbers came out, GameStop's go forward business priced at a 9.75, and that's if you think they're going to pay back the convertibles in cash. If you think they're going to dilute the convertibles, then even after you net out the impact of that dilution, right? Even when you adjust the market cap, like when you price in that dilution, even then with the 150 additional million shares in the float, you're still looking at a business that's valued at a 7 PE. A 7 PE. Wow. At what? 40% margins? Wow. We know top line sales grew at 14%, but sales per store, right? Comparable sales grew 55%. I wonder, I've never tried this before, but if we just ask Google, like, what earnings multiple would you expect to see for a retailer in the United States growing same store sales at 55% with gross margins at 41%? That's all we care about, right? Same store growth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you'll tell me the earnings multiple, right? 41% gross margins, same store sales growing 55%. What type of PE would we expect on that type of business? Do you know, Gemini? What do you think? I don't know. A retail business with 55% same-store growth and 41% gross margins would likely command a premium forward price to earnings multiple of 25 to 35, or an enterprise value slash EBITDA multiple of 15 to 22, well above the standard retail averages. Unprecedented growth. That's how they describe 55% same store sales. 55% same store sales growth is highly exceptional in retail, where the mature industry average is typically flat to low single digits. This live stream is getting better and better, guys. Cheers, by the way. Great to see y'all on a Friday. How we doing? How we doing in the World Cup, by the way? How's it going? We're up 2-0. Hey, well, I say we. Sorry, I know not all of you guys are American, so sorry about that. I'm rooting for the US. Sorry for my Aussies. Anyways, this rate of compounding indicates strong brand momentum, high consumer acquisition, or an emerging market trend, aka the collectibles, right? which drives significant multiple expansion. Multiple expansion. Not only should GameStop be worth more on a market cap basis than they have been historically, or on an enterprise value basis than they have been historically, but the multiple should also be higher. If the multiple was the same, then they would be worth 50% more. If the multiple was the same, GameStop would be above 30 a share already. But the multiple, sorry, the multiple should be even higher than it was before. And how low can this multiple get before this thing goes to the moon? It's just crazy. A 25 to 35? Well, I'm not taking Google's word for it, but I did look at in a recent video, I aggregated my software, hardware, and collectibles, right? The retail business valuations. I aggregated them and said, on a total basis, what am I saying that I think is the floor earnings multiple that GameStop should command based on the numbers that they've done? And the floor multiple I think makes any sense is like 30. I think it came out to 31. So I'm actually uh right in this same range. For my forward PE floor is like 31. Solid gross margins. 41% gross margins are healthy. Traditional department stores operate closer to 30 to 35%. While premium specialty retailers are the ones hitting 40 to 45%. The bottom line factor. While the gross margin is strong, the final PE multiple will ultimately hinge on SG&A expenses. If the company can handle this 55% surge in sales volume without a proportional increase in corporate overhead, marketing, and logistics, the operating margin and earnings multiple will push toward the higher end of that range. So check this out. GameStop's SG&A is not just proportionally lower, it's actually lower, right? The SG&A is lower by what was the decrease? By 12% year over year. 19% year over year for the full 2025. What if SG&A is 12% lower than it was the prior year? Let's just say 12 to 20%. What do you think? Humor me. If SG&A is 12 to 20% lower than the prior year, alongside a 55% surge in same-store sales, the company is experiencing an extreme display of operating leverage. In this scenario, you would expect the forward earnings multiples to expand significantly, pushing to the highest tier of the market, a forward PE multiple of 35 to 45. So again, my floor, my worst case scenario for GameStop's legacy retail business is like a 30 to 32 forward PE. And Gemini seems to have a decent brain because it's saying if you're saying the company's doing this well, well, a fair PE is probably substantially higher than that. I wonder what my fair PE is for the whole business. Let me zoom back out. Let's see, not in the fly case scenario, but just in the fair case scenario, what type of PE am I looking at? Well, you're looking at value of $24 billion is my fair case valuation right now for just the retail business, not PowerPacks, not eBay, not the asset management business. 24 billion divided by what? 477 of earnings plus 91 plus 192. 760 million. 24 billion divided by 760 million. Oh, that's still a 31. Right, because I have in my fair case is not really a multiple expansion case as much as it is the earnings actually being higher, right? The sales being higher and the margins being higher are also big needle movers to the overall business. In the fly case, you're looking at a $44 billion company that's doing 282 plus 165 plus 657. So 1.1 billion in earnings on a 45 basically billion-dollar company. 45 divided by 1.1, that's a 41 PE. So in my fly case scenario, I'm giving GameStop a 41 forward PE. And by the way, I only give that less than a 25% chance on the aggregate. The fair case and the floor case, I'm only giving their legacy retail business about a 31 PE. And apparently, I am being way too conservative. Right? What's my channel all about? What's my channel all about? Master your money for your future, welcome to Budget for Life. Level-headed analysis of company fundamentals, right? I'm not trying to be a GameStop hyper bull, right? I'm not trying to just pump the stock. I'm trying to be level-headed. I'm trying to be fair in the way that I look at this company. And anyone with a brain would say, man, this company is sure seems to be worth a lot more than it's currently available for. A company that should be at a forward PE of maybe 45 or more, that right now is at a PE of 7. What's 45 divided by 7? It's almost 7 times. It's almost 7 times. Of course, this is forward PE and this is trailing 12-month PE. So let's just call it 5 times. Let's just use round numbers. Gemini thinks right now GameStop should be worth 5 times more than it's worth. Gemini thinks right now GameStop should be worth over $100 a share. Over a $50 billion market cap. Cheers. Cheers to freaking that. Benji says Big Germ. Oh, Big Jeremy firing up the U.S. national team with this sick stream. Appreciate it. DRSG America with the diamonds. What is up? Hey, thanks, Adam. You're the best. Peace out. Jay Card says RC just appeared on Piers Morgan again. Wow. Well, that's wonderful. I guess I am on a live stream where I could stream it. Should we check it out? Should we check it out? I wanted to do some logging for PowerPack. I mean, for PowerPacks. What's going on, Cohen? It's not here. Where does it go? $4 weeks ago. Where is it? Is it on the stonk? Wow.
Elon Musk.
Sorkin's on here too? No way. It's 42 minutes long, guys. It's 42 minutes long. Are we gonna do this? Are we gonna do this right now, or should I do it in a separate video? Should we just do it? Oh, random YouTube user says it starts at 28 minutes. Oh, that's a game changer. Okay, if it starts at 28 minutes, then oh yeah, Andrew covering his new book. Yeah, we don't need to worry about that. All right. All right. All right. Okay, Sorkin talking about Ryan Cohen and then Sorkin reacting to, is this a new interview? It's got to be new, right?
That I've done.
Reaction
It's new, right?
to that interview is Ryan Cohen, the CEO of GameStop. So, Ryan, you were listening there
Okay, it
to.
is live. It is new. All right. Well, let's go ahead and see. Let's go ahead and see. Brick and mortar, my conviction is not fading on GameStop. The green light starts on July 7th. Let's see how it looks from July 7th uh through the rest of the year. If we're still at 21.5 6 months from now, I will feel genuinely discouraged. Okay, we gonna do this? Does it look super blocked out to you guys? Very interesting. All right. Piers Morgan interviews Ryan Sorkin, who interviewed earlier this year Ryan Cohen, and then Ryan Cohen reacts to Ryan Sorkin reacting to Piers Morgan about the whole pursuit, right? The eBay, the GME. Let's listen to it together, see if we can learn anything. Appreciate y'all's thoughts in the chat, in the comments. I'll get back to the chat here in a few minutes, but I'm not going to be able to see it while I stream so that I can blow this thing up. What do you want to say, Piers? I didn't like you too much last time.
Could possibly finance its $56 billion bid to acquire eBay, saying the maths just didn't work. So he came on uncensored to respond. He said this.
I was surprised by their lack of understanding of the structure because it's very simple. It's half cash, it's half stock. We have the ability to issue stock. Essentially, the eBay shareholders are going to continue owning eBay, except it's going to be run by an owner-operator as opposed to an entrenched management team that has zero invested and zero skin in the game. And the other half of the structure, we've got 9 billion of cash on our balance sheet, and our bankers have advised us that they feel confident in our ability to raise 20 billion. So it's a straightforward deal, but it was too complicated for them on CNBC.
Now, the reason I wanted to play that to you is because it was way too complicated for me to understand whether anything that he said there was actually credible. You've now heard it. He says it's too complicated for you to understand.
No,
I would beg to differ. But from what you just heard there, which was his kind of clarifying explanation, what was your response?
This is interesting.
So look, I think what he's
Ryan Sorkin. I'm just going to call him Sorkin. I'm not even going to call you Ryan so we don't get it confused. But it sounds like Sorkin's already kind of backpedaling, like to try to come off as a little bit more graceful and maybe change his tune on the way that he's covering Ryan Cohen compared to that earlier interview where he obviously was playing dumb to try to make Ryan Cohen look bad.
Trying to do is slightly different than what is a classic acquisition. And I just for the record, I did understand exactly what the transaction was. I was desperately trying to get him to explain it to the public in a way that they could understand it. But in terms of what the deal is, typically when you buy a company, you have more money than the company that you're buying, and you're buying out their shares.
It's like, I just want to call BS for a second on that comment. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe, plausibly, right? You were just trying to get Ryan Cohen to explain it in his words. But how did he then react in that first interview? They then collectively, the whole group then reacted as if there was some type of like conspiracy theory, like Ryan Cohen must be some mafia member. Like they could have said, okay, well, since you're not going to explain it, I'll go ahead and try to explain it to my best ability to the audience so that they can understand how this deal typically type of deal typically works. And can you just interrupt me? Can you add your 2 cents if I get anything wrong, or if you would want to add anything, change anything, let me know. But this is kind of what my understanding is of the offer. He could have done that if he just wanted the public to understand, but he didn't want the public to understand. And interesting that he's now apparently changing his tune. To me, that's a little bit of a bullish signal that this guy that tried to throw Cohen into the dumpster, right, trying to throw shade on this whole opportunity, is now apparently talking as if, hey, this is a little bit different than a typical acquisition, but it actually totally makes sense. It's totally going to work. Does that mean it is going to work?
In fact, he said that he was buying it at a premium. That's not exactly what this deal is. He's paying some money to the company, but he's effectively telling eBay shareholders, you are going to roll in with me, meaning you're going to, a big portion of your shares are still coming here. So I'm not really buying you out at all. You're going to roll in with me. And if you like me as the manager and think that what I've done with Chewy, he had a great success with Chewy. If you think that what he's doing with GameStop was great, then you'll follow down this path. And that's what the deal is. The question is, he needs to ultimately persuade those eBay shareholders. And those eBay shareholders are big Wall Street institutions, by the way. It's not retail investors necessarily. There's a lot of retail investors in GameStop. Got them very excited about GameStop. He's got to persuade BlackRock and T. Rowe Price and all the big funds that he's the guy to run this and that they need to trust him. That's what that's doing.
Yeah, why didn't you say that the first time, Sorkin? It is still a premium. He's still offering eBay a premium value. He's just not paying it all in cash. But the gist of what he said there is still authentic. Yes, if you're an eBay shareholder and you do not think Ryan Cohen is fit to lead the company, then you should reject the deal. If you would rather have your management team running eBay, then you should not vote to fire your management team and hire a different management team, right? But if you think Ryan Cohen is a better manager than your current management team, then yeah, you are getting a premium valuation compared to what your management team is currently valued at, what your company is currently valued at. You're getting excess value in addition to, by the way, hiring Ryan Cohen as your manager.
Market, when asked, will GameStop acquire eBay by the end of the year, 15% are saying yes in the prediction market, down from 22%. Where would you put the percentage?
Look, I think it's going to be a challenge for Ryan. I think he's done by the way, he did a great job with Chewy. I think he's doing a good job with GameStop.
Could he pull it off?
Look at him. Look at him starting to try to talk nice to Cohen. I don't trust you at all, Sorkin. Sell it. When have you ever said he's done a good job with GameStop and that you try? I don't even. What's? It sounds to me like he thinks the deal's going to happen. Otherwise, why would he be sucking up to Cohen? He would be gloating if he thought that this deal was screwed. He'd be pointing to his first interview and be like, "See, told y'all," right? Anyways.
This year, I think would be very, very challenging, like almost impossible challenging. But that's because he effectively would have to get the board, which doesn't want to hand over the reins, and he'd have to get all the big institutional investors behind him. Could he ultimately do it? Like over time? Maybe. But it's not an easy one.
Is an easier one what's going to happen to SpaceX when it floats in a couple of weeks? Is that going to be the rocket that we all expect?
So it's interesting. It's a rocket that almost invariably has to be a rocket for the first couple of weeks because the NASDAQ, the stock exchange where it's going to go public, has an index fund called the QQQ. Anyone who buys the NASDAQ index fund is automatically, within the first 5 days, going to be buying shares of SpaceX. So there is effectively an audience. He's allowing a lot more retail investors to buy in than historically. Retail investors' hands immediately because they're not considered diamond hands. They're considered quick hands that they may sell if the stock moves too high.
It's paper hands, Sorkin.
So it's going to be a very interesting one to watch.
I sat with 3 billionaires about 3-4 years ago over lunch, and I just said to them, come on then, if you could invest in one stock, what would it be? And they all said SpaceX. Which I thought was very interesting. So it's going to be a fantastically exciting
and watch for the next move, Elon's next move. SpaceX.
Wait, you mean billionaires are susceptible to groupthink? Who would have thought?
I think is going to ultimately buy Tesla.
I think that's inevitable.
And they're going to rename the company X for the whole enterprise.
Really? The whole thing?
That's my call.
It's a big.
You're calling everyone's call. Everyone thinks that's going to happen. And it probably will happen because Elon Musk wants to own Tesla. Right now, he only owns like 25%. Why are we even talking about this? Let's get back to GameStop.
Cool, but you're usually right. I want to end with one simple question. In Wall Street, perhaps the most iconic movie about Wall Street, obviously, but about the financial world, the classic Oliver Stone film. There's the line, lunch is for wimps. Do you go to lunch?
I used to go to lunch. These days, I don't really go to lunch that much.
So you concluded lunch is for wimps?
I just don't know what the power lunch is anymore.
I'll tell you where it is. It's...
maybe when we go to lunch.
No, it's Michael's. It's Midtown Manhattan with our mutual friend, Jonathan Wald.
Absolutely.
Isn't that the epicenter of power lunches?
The epicenter
in New York?
Of power in New York.
Andrew, great to see you.
Great to see you.
1929, Inside the Crash. As you've got here, a quote here from David Gran, riveting and illuminating. It certainly is, and a massive wake-up call for all of us right now.
Here's thank you.
Okay, so we're about to transition to Cohen. What did we just take away from Sorkin? Let's see if this thing is still coming through. Am I still coming through, guys? Y'all still hearing me? Looks like it. Looks like it. Okay, what's up? Yeah, just catching up on the chat here. So, what did we just learn from Sorkin? He didn't really say anything, but what we just heard is basically Sorkin changed his tone substantially as it relates to Ryan Cohen and GameStop in their pursuit of eBay. It seems that Sorkin's looking to get on the right side of history before it's too late. And I think he finds it very plausible that Cohen will succeed ultimately in acquiring eBay. The only, smear campaign he was looking to issue is maybe not this year, right? Maybe they can't fully acquire eBay in the next 6 months. Great. So maybe it'll be 10 months. Who cares? That's not really the conversation that Sorkin was having 3 months ago when he first covered this. So bullish in my opinion that one of the most notorious bears of GameStop, rather than gloating on GameStop's grave, right? Is GameStop sitting at 2150? The Poly market says it's 15% odds. Like, he very well could be taking victory laps. Instead, he is hedging his bets. He's starting to change his tune. Why now, before you've even seen any run on GameStop stock? What does he know? Who does he know that would indicate to him that actually this really is going to happen? Pretty exciting. Let's see what Cohen has to say.
Great to see you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Well, joining us now to react to that interview is Ryan Cohen, the CEO of GameStop. So, Ryan, you were listening there to Andrew. There was a little glimmer of hope. He didn't think it was impossible, just very difficult. What's your reaction?
It reminds me of the movie Dumb and Dumber, where the girl tells Jim Carrey, he asks, what are my chances? And she says like 1 in 1 million or something. And he says, so you're saying there's a chance?
I mean, look, Andrew is, notwithstanding your little dig, which I played to him, that he didn't understand it. I think he does understand it, and he outlined just now the reasons for his concern and wanting you to really articulate how you thought this would work. Do you understand his concerns? Do you accept that he?
Okay, Sorkin did not issue concerns right there. All he said is they probably can't do it by the end of the year. What concerns was I missing? And why is Piers continuing to pitch questions to Cohen with a very negative twist? We just saw him do an interview with Sorkin that was very flattering, talking about getting power lunches in Manhattan. And as soon as we're talking to Cohen, now he's talking about concerns and how low the odds are and I'm just like, look, can we just, if we're going to be flattering, let's be flattering across the board. Sorkin even tried to help. Sorkin was flattering. He wasn't expressing concerns.
He's pretty expert in this, and the concerns are valid.
Yeah, I mean, uh, it's tough. Everything that I've done has always been tough. If you would have looked at what the chances of Chewy to succeed against Amazon, the odds, were very, very low. And turning around GameStop, if you asked all of Wall Street what they thought the business was going to be doing in 2026, when I joined the board, I would have said that the company would have been bankrupt a few times over. So, yeah, it's tough.
In other words, 15% odds is the best odds Cohen has had in his professional career. Right? The odds of Chewy succeeding when he started, way lower than 15%. The odds of GameStop turning around into a true cash cow, way lower than 15%. So Cohen's saying, look, if the public is saying I have a 15% chance, that's about 15 times higher than the odds I had for the last two things I did. And by the way, I did them. So honestly, bullish.
There have been reports today saying that you've not given up on this project, and you may now take your proposal directly to shareholders for an attempted hostile takeover. Is that true?
I'm definitely not going to give up. It's I'm not going to stop. So
You're not denying the report, which includes the proposal potentially direct to shareholders for an attempted hostile takeover. Is that bit true?
ultimately, the owners of the business are the shareholders, and the fate of the business is going to be decided by the owners of the business. And the vote is going to come down to who they want running the business. Do you want an entrenched management team that's collecting tens of millions of dollars in risk-free compensation running the business? Or do you want someone that's putting all his chips on the table, both through GameStop and me personally? But ultimately, the management team and the board has all kinds of perverse incentives. But I'm going to do everything to make sure that ultimately the owners of the business get to make that decision.
That doesn't sound.
So yes. And he did also offer that little head gesture before he gave that long-winded answer. Piers Morgan clarified. So you're not denying the whole hostile takeover, forcing a vote. Cohen does this. And then he shares that. Um, so yeah, confirmation, of course, that despite like whatever happens with Prop 4, right? Who cares about Prop 4? That's not really a necessary step for Cohen and GameStop to force the issue for a vote to happen. How long will they wait before they force the issue is the big fun question, but the green light starts when? July 7th. It's not going to happen before July 7th. So just chill for a couple weeks. Try to ignore the stock for a couple weeks, honestly.
Sound like a denial.
It's not a
There you
denial.
go.
Wow. Okay. So that is news. So you are seriously considering a hostile takeover.
Going to do whatever we need to do in order to maximize shareholder value for GameStop. And we've made a big investment. We're one of the largest active shareholders of the business, and I love eBay. And the business is highly complementary to GameStop's business. And it's a business that I personally understand very well and is within my circle of competence. So we'll see what happens.
There he
Well,
goes. There he goes again with his. Look at that face. Cohen. There he goes again with this infamous quote. We'll see what happens. How could you be any happier than that? Look at that guy. Does that guy, I mean, just seriously, just look at this guy. Is there anything in you that would look at that face and the tone and think there's a 15% chance that he succeeds in acquiring eBay? Right. I mean, it's just pretty exciting.
I'll look forward greatly to your next move on that. Just very quickly, SpaceX. You know, we just heard Andrew talking about it, that it's going to be a rocket
Okay, I guess we're doing this. Let's hear what Ryan Cohen thinks about SpaceX.
launch, but it's going to have to reach rocket levels to justify, I guess, all the hype. What's your view about it?
I wouldn't bet against it. I wouldn't be arrogant enough to bet against Elon. And what I find interesting on all the skeptics on Wall Street is how quickly they are to take the side of the establishment. I don't know what it is. Maybe they play by the rules. They go on the show, they answer all their questions, they bow down to them, they get together in the Hamptons. I don't know what it is, but there's nothing that is more American than risking your own money. And if you end up making money, great. And if you end up losing money, then you lose money. And yet you look at the mainstream media, like with GameStop as an example, and it's almost like everyone is rooting and wants to see our demise. And you know, it's the same thing in this situation too. They want to see us fail. They hope we fail, and it doesn't really make sense to me. It's anti-American. What we're doing is tough, but we're taking on risk. And if you look at the current management team and the board, you've got a board of directors that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for attending a few board meetings. You've got a management team, you've got a CEO in particular that's making tens of millions of dollars, have never bought a single share.
I love how he took this SpaceX question and just started talking about GameStop's acquisition of eBay again.
Of stock on the open market with his own money. And yet, why are they so quick to protect and want them to succeed? Like, you know, you talk about like, you know, I watch what you know, wealth inequality and all of these systemic risks. And then you have someone that's taking on a lot of risk and putting a lot of skin in the game. And it's like, why do they want us to fail? I don't understand.
You know, I love entrepreneurs. I think they make the world go round. I think that most people are risk averse and play safe in their lives and their business. And actually, if it wasn't for people like you and Elon Musk and others, the world would be a very dull place. And sometimes you've got to speculate to accumulate, and you may crash and burn. But as we learned in Top Gun, sometimes you will crash and burn, but other times you're gonna win. And I wouldn't bet against you either, Ryan. I've enjoyed talking to you the few times
I'm not sure if I believe you, Piers.
we've done it. I hope we can continue to do it. And if you put it off, it'll be amazing. And if you don't, well, you had to go.
I appreciate it, Pierce. We're on the same page.
We are, and we will talk again. Ryan, thank you very much.
Nice seeing you.
There you go. There you go. So what do we learn from Ryan Cohen? Nothing new, no new information there, but just a continued confirmation that, I mean, not really confirmation necessarily, but through mannerisms, through facial expressions, a continued exuding of confidence for GameStop's pursuit and acquisition of eBay, um, which is great. And I guess you could say a confirmation that GameStop will be bringing the vote to shareholders, to eBay shareholders. So confirmation that the Prop 4 decline or whatever from eBay is really not an issue in Cohen's mind to his ability um, to force the vote to happen. What is yet to be seen is when does he do it? Sometime after July 7th is the answer. I'm excited to find out with you guys. Very fun. Yeah, Zbacco said, I don't care about little prop four. I'm still buying eBay. It's true. It's true. So that's pretty much the takeaway there. How do I get this live stream to work a little bit better? The internet quality seems to be a little bit poor. So going back to, I guess you can't even really see my screen, right? Or maybe if I do this, can you see my screen more? Okay. It's just if I click on the streaming side, it intrudes on my screen over here. So now my chat is even less viewable than before. So I will try not to be too much of a distraction with my streaming woes. I'll keep a little eye on the chat if you would like to leave a chat. But when I respond to the chat, it's gonna boop pop that little box over on my window, apparently. So all that to say, if you want to make sure I see it, feel free to drop a super, but no pressure or expectation to. Let's dive a little bit more into earnings implications, valuation implications, I should say, and then let's take a look at uh, PowerPacks Q2 numbers. So here we are into Q1. And what is the low after Q1 earnings going to be? That is the question. Let's pretend that the low has already come in which case the low after earnings would be 2089, 62. Or that was right before it got posted, huh? Because it came after hours on 6/2. Yes. So technically that's right before earnings came out. The low post earnings release would be 2113. 2113. Uh, 2113 a share times 448.7 million shares minus the 4.2 of convertibles. Performance. Oh, sorry. This does not go there. This would go right here. And this number, we're looking for cash. Here we go. Net cash. Take your cash, you subtract out the 4.2. Net cash grew by $700 million from Q4 to Q1. Implied enterprise value. Oh, sorry. What is the date of that? 6/16. June 16th. Is the current low post Q1 earnings release. Trailing 12-month operating income of 386. Let me just make sure that's accurate there. We're looking at 143.3 plus 242.9. Yeah, 386.2 of trailing 12-month operating income. This number, you just want to add 18 million. So there you go. Current PE, or the PE at 21.5, something like a 9. Something like a 9. That is if you price the convertibles as debt. So this right here is a more accurate, well, it's not more accurate. These are the numbers on the valuation the Friday after earnings was released. A 9.75 PE for the go forward business. At the low, it's gotten as low as a 9.52 or a 9.1 on the go forward business. The low before then was a 14.57. Look what's happened to the earnings multiple of GameStop over the past 3 quarters. It's come down from a 16 to a 14 to now a 9. Or if I show it to you this way, from a 62, or let's assume they dilute the convertibles, from a 62 to a 33, 13, 12, 7. GameStop now at a 7 forward PE if you assume that they dilute the convertibles. This is the low, and it also is basically the current price. I mean, it's just kind of crazy. If number 4, nice. If GameStop had a 15 PE right now, they would already be at 26. Just a 15. And that's right now. Man, a lot of things are coming to a head. I do not like, to me, this is, I mean, if they have a 10, they're still, I mean, it's still too low. Y'all checked out Gemini. Gemini's saying 35 to 45 is more appropriate. I think anything below 15 truly does invite the wealth of the world to pile in. In other words, I do not think that this price action is sustainable. We know that XRT is on day 30 or something of reg show. That might not mean too much. But regardless, whenever the next insider buying window happens, I would expect that if GameStop's at this type of valuation, that the wealth of the world will be buying up their shares, including, by the way, GameStop. GameStop will be buying their own shares. At a 9 PE or a 7 PE, if they don't have to pay their 4.2 billion in cash back, do you think Ryan Cohen thinks, hey, GameStop, pretty nice value at a 7 PE? I think he does think that. And if he does think that, then he's going to buy it. And if he buys it, it raises the share price because it raises EPS because it shrinks the float. It's just not that much rocket science going on. Let's assume that convertibles in the money, right? The destiny of the eBay acquisition, convertibles, warrants, S&P 500 eligibility. Let's kick the can on that to December for now. Let's just look at like what happens after one more quarter just from the fundamentals of their business. First of all, how much do we expect net cash to grow quarter over quarter? Net cash just grew by 700, a little closer to $600 million. The quarter before that, it was just 40. Quarter before that, it was 70. A lot of that 600 million was the value of their eBay position growing. So we're not going to see that happen again. Bitcoin's going to do whatever Bitcoin does. But even from an operating income perspective, you would expect at least 100 million in increased net cash. And then we know their eBay position's larger now than it was before. Regardless, let's say 150 million, let's say 200. 200 million more in net cash from the performance of their business. Obviously, it's not just the operating improvements, it's also just the cash earned from interest. Right? I think 200 is a pretty low guesstimate. If GameStop stays where it is currently valued, right? H3, their current share price by their current float, if they stay a $9.6 billion company, that means their enterprise value would have gone down even a little bit more from the low post Q1. But what's going to happen to trailing 12-month operating income? How much of an improvement are you going to see in operating income from Q2 to Q2? Q1 to Q1, you saw a $150 million improvement. I mean, it's pretty crazy. $150 million improvement. Q4 to Q4. $40 million improvement. But we know that improvement's going to sustain unless you think collectibles are going to drop off. Like collectibles in Q1 were 28%. They're 50% larger now than they were then. So I think at least a $100 million improvement in operating income is what I would expect. Maybe not at least 100 because there was the Switch 2 release during Q2, which inflated Q2's numbers. But is Q2 really going to do less than Q1? Why would Q1 on an operating income basis with no big releases, no big catalysts, why would Q2 be even lower than Q1 from an operating income perspective? I don't know why. So let's say it's 150 million in operating income. Well, that's a $90 million improvement from Q2. So if you take the trailing 12-month operating income and you say they improve it by $90 million, well, now you're looking at a PE of 6.8. And what happens if you just let's leave the convertibles and eBay out of it for a minute here. Like if you just roll this forward, in other words, what if nothing happens with eBay, right? What if you're just stuck wherever you are? Let's leave PowerPacks out of it for now. Just what's going to happen in terms of raw numbers. You add another 200 million in net cash each quarter. And you add another, let's just say 90 million. Well, yeah, Q3 would be even bigger. If they do 150 in Q3, that's like a $100 million improvement. Really more than that. But let's just look at if they do what we expect in Q3 and Q4, which in the Q2 year-over-year improvement, we're thinking 90 million. Q3 and 4 is probably more like 120 million. If they do that, why is Q4 also going to be substantial? Because of GTA 6, of course. So you take Q3, you roll it forward into Q4. Q4 reported in April. Is it April? Or is it March? Fourth quarter, March. Oh, yeah. I know none of us want to wait till March 2027 to see what's going to happen. Oops, don't do that. March 2027, right? What's coming? In other words, what's the forward PE that we're looking at? Well, net cash is growing $200 million a quarter, let's say, over Q2, 3, and 4, which means enterprise value, if it doesn't change, is coming down 200 million quarter over quarter. And what's happening to trailing 12-month operating income? It's going up $90 million in Q2, and then about $120 million in Q3, and another $120 million in Q4. And what happens to the US and Australia operating business? You just take that 18 right there. Boom. And then let's say by this point it's even because they've already sold Europe as well. What's coming? If GameStop's trading at what it's currently trading at, then what's coming is an earnings multiple compression from right now what is a 9 down to a 7, 5, 4. What are the odds that you think GameStop's enterprise is going to be afforded a 4 PE? And by the way, you're also then assuming that PowerPacks stays offline that whole time. And probably it's not offline. Probably it's online. Well, if GameStop keeps growing, what happens to their floor fundamental share price? Even if you think 15 is let's say the fair number. Let's say they can keep it long term at a 15. Well, what happens? Oh, these are all, we need to change the share count here. 448 divided by 448. If nothing happens with PowerPacks, nothing happens with the asset management business, with the eBay acquisition, all we see is the next few quarters of just GameStop's pure fundamental performance continuing to do what it's doing, not improving crazy, just kind of continuing. Then GameStop's going to grow to a $700 million trailing 12-month operating income over the next 9 months. And if they are given a 15 PE on that business, that means their share price would be at 38 a share at a 15 PE. What if they're only at a 10 PE? Well, you're still at 30 a share. If you're at 30 a share, do you know what happens? The convertibles are in the money, right? Right. Well, what happens if the convertibles are in the money? Well, then all of a sudden the warrants are in the money. What happens if the warrants are in the money? It's 4.2 billion from the convertibles that goes into net cash. Right? This net cash number goes up by 4.2 billion if the convertibles are in the money. It goes up by another 1.9 billion if the warrants are in the money. And they can extend the warrants. If they have to extend the warrants, they'll extend the warrants. It's not a big deal. But by the way, what also happens if they lower the current float, right? If this number goes down by potentially 90 million shares, if they dump a $2 billion buyback at this type of valuation, it just gets that much more bullish. But let's just show you, like, if the warrants and the convertibles are in the money, then you're talking about 4.2 plus 1.9, right? $6.1 billion added to net cash and about 200 million shares added to the float. What happens in that case, right? Pre-dilution, no warrants, no conversion of the convertibles, right? You're paying the convertibles in cash. No PowerPacks, no eBay. At a 15 PE 9 months from now, you're looking at almost a 90% growth on the stock, $38 a share. But let's look real quick. What happens in this same quarter if convertibles and Warrants are in the money. 651 becomes the new number that you're dividing by. And you are adding 4.2 billion plus 1.9 billion to net cash. There you go. Net cash becomes 12.5 billion. If GameStop doesn't change, then if they're still a $9 billion company, right? Then that would imply a negative $2.8 billion enterprise value. But a 15 PE, even after the conversions happen, would still give you a 651 or sorry, a $36 a share price target post dilution. So pre-dilution, you're looking at a 38 within the next 9 months. And even after all that dilution happens, because of the net cash infusion, you're still looking at settling at like a 35. In other words, both of these are handsomely above 29 and 32 for that matter. When you think about the impact of the warrants and the convertibles. And again, this is without PowerPacks and without the asset management business, assuming just a 15 PE. And again, if you're looking out to March, even if they have a 10 PE, they are still above the convertible pricing. All that to say, in my opinion, right now, we are already below the fundamental floor. I do not think the current pricing of GameStop can stay this low. Is it in short's best interest to keep it low? I guess so. But post July 7th, I mean, I just don't think this pricing is going to be available a whole lot longer. It's just my opinion. Thanks, guys, by the way, for the likes and for being here and all of that. Appreciate it. What's up, Punky? Great to see you. Okay, well, as promised, I do want to do so that's a little bit of valuation talk. We got to check out the Piers Morgan interview. What's up, Motorboxing Boy? Great to see you. Excited about what's ahead on this stock. I genuinely am very excited. Talked a little bit about my expectations. I do want to get a little bit of a feel for PowerPacks. Oh, and let me add some things that I learned from the Q1 numbers. So someone asked me a question like basically how do you know GameStop's not doing 50% margins on PowerPacks? And I was like, well, let me illustrate this a little bit better. So there's really three ways based on GameStop's reported numbers, right, in this good old 10K or 10Q. Three ways that we can measure what PowerPacks is doing, even though it's not material. That not material threshold standard is important because that means that PowerPacks operating revenue and PowerPacks operating income are less than 10% of GameStop's sales and GameStop's operating income. So we know in Q1, PowerPacks did less than $83 million in revenue. PowerPacks did less than 83 million in revenue, and PowerPacks operating income did less than $14.3 million. Otherwise, it would have been material and it would have had to been disclosed. Now, importantly, I said in the past video that they could be like running up SG&A to create a lot of discrepancy quarter over quarter. That's, however, not the case because, again, this is operating income. Operating income, oh, sorry. That actually is the case, right? SG&A could be suppressing operating income. They could just be paying out large one-time sums to suppress, like to employees or whatever, right? Bonuses to suppress PowerPacks income, but they can't really do anything to suppress PowerPacks sales. So we know the hard cap ceiling for PowerPack sales genuinely was $83 million in Q1. What is the floor? Well, there's a couple ways to work backwards to guesstimate at the floor, but the hard cap floor is probably $36 million, right? I recorded, or you could say hard cap would be 27 million. Like I recorded 27 million in sales worth from pulls during Q1 just from the chase cards. So if you were to assume that all of these odds are basically being double counted because they're already represented within the chase cards, well, just from the chase cards, I found $27 million of revenue represented for Power Packs in Q1, but more likely a floor around 35, as well as if you were to take the lowest plausible net income number that we could assume for Power Packs, which is $3.4 million. Well, if GameStop owns 50% of it, and if they're doing 20% margins, which is about the highest I'm willing to entertain, you'd end up with a sales number around 34 million. No matter what way you slice it, whether you're doing it backwards from income up to sales, or you're just doing it from tracking pulls, either way, you're looking at about 35 million being the lowest revenue that could have been possible for Power Packs. Well, if you were to take that revenue, call it 34 million, what is the highest number margins could be to still keep your operating income number under that 14.3 million? The highest margin it could be technically is 42%. Technically, that's the hard cap ceiling for Power Packs margins. Unless you think that sales could have been even lower than 34 million, but I don't think it's really possible. Now, the hard cap floor, again, assuming the lowest reasonable income threshold, the floor margin for the revenue number to stay under 83 million is 8.25%. 8.25, the lowest, 42%, the highest that Power Packs margins could be. Now, what's the more plausible ceiling? The more plausible ceiling is 21%. Where do I get that number? Because the most plausible sales number is probably like 68 million for Q1. If you work backwards from 68 million, what's the highest margins could be on 68 million in sales to stay under 14.3? Well, it's 21%. So 21% is the more plausible ceiling number. Most likely, though, you're talking something between 10 and 15%. This is what we are most excited to see when the numbers ultimately hit materiality, is the margins that they're getting. It has a huge impact on the valuation of Power Packs. GameStop's equity percentage, the literal lowest it could be is 24% based on the lowest potential income associated with Power Packs. More likely, it's 50%. The highest it could be also is 50%. If it was any higher than 50%, it would not be able to be treated under equity accounting standards. The more plausible floor, I say, is 35%. How do you come up with that number? Again, what is the number, the lowest number income, where if you apply 35% ownership, still keeps your sales and operating income numbers under the 10% threshold. It's probably something like 35% is the most plausible floor, but most likely it's 50% ownership. Okay, does that make sense? Let me know in the chat or in the comments if it doesn't. Let's see what we can learn. Let me zoom out here for a second. Hide some of these legacy quarters here. Goodbye Q4 and all the way through Q1. Let's focus in on Q2 and see what we can see together on the interwebs. Thanks, Motorboxing Boy. So the last card that I logged was on May 6th, just the very, very beginning, which was this post, which happened over a month ago now. So we're going to try to find this post here after I refresh this page. And we're going to go all the way to a month ago, really a month and change, to find that same Magmar. Where are we at so far? We're already at 7 days. Nice job, boys. Where are we at now? 15 days. Great. Another week in the books. We've got some catching up to do. 21 days. Wonderful. 26 days. Great. I will say I have spent several $1,000s at GameStop the past couple days. Not on PowerPacks, but on graded cards on their website. Oh, is that it? No, that's not it. We need Japanese Magmar. Okay, we are officially in May, but might take us a while to find the exact Magmar we're looking for because we need to go deep into May. We gotta go deep into May. Phantasmal Flames. That's not it. Where are you, Magmar? Oh, Moltres. Where are you? I want to log some pulls so that we can see an approximate halfway point. Oh, look at these Neutronium packs. Oh my gosh, guys. I've got so much FOMO on the Neutronium pack. I'm trying to stay disciplined. I'm not pulling until we're over 5,000 subs. But once we're over 5,000 subs, I'm pulling Neutronium. It might be a year. I might have to wait a year. And I will wait. We will earn it fair and square. Just like I promised wifey. There it is. Booyah! Let's go. Let the logging begin. Ba-ba-bum-bum. All right, we're not logging literally every single thing. We just want some good ones. Like, there you go. That's a gold chase right there. So let us come. Let's update this real quick before I forget. 6/19, Juneteenth. Boom, gold chase. Ooh. Ooh, loss. Wow. 3 neutronium pulls here. We've got a 43, a 35, and a 10K. 43. So we got one of these, and just over this threshold here. Nice. 3 and 1. It's a decent gold. Nice gold. Hey, starter chase. That's fun. Gold looser, silver. Nice. Nice neutronium in the 8K range. Booyah. Silver chase. Nice gold chase. Got one gold chase to update. Don't forget it. Is that another gold chase? Boom. Two gold chases to update. That's a cool card. Two gold chases. You will not tell me what they're worth. Boom. Three gold chases. Let's go. And a silver chase. Okay. Three more of those. One more of those. Let's keep going. Neutronium. Da-da-da. Woo! Winner. Winner. Did you get one gold chase, two gold chase? Gold's doing nice. Three gold chase, four gold chase. What? And then what's this platinum going to be? I guess I'll log it since we watched it together. And four more gold chases. We are trudging our way through May. Nice one. Nice lunar. Almost into the upper decker. First lunar logged of the quarter. The funny thing about GameStop releasing Neutronium is they will necessarily sell far fewer lunar than they did the quarter before. Maybe not far fewer, but definitely less. Because some people are risking it for the biscuit. I do not anticipate a huge move on Genie on Monday, but I'd be happy. I don't think we're going above 30 un until after the comp. We could touch it, but I don't think we'll hold it by any means. But again, I'd be very happy to be wrong. I'm as all in can be. So if I'm ready, you know what I mean? How am I supposed to follow that? Just make it easy for me, guys. There's a gold chase. Boom, platinum chase. Ooh, that's some money right there. That's some revenue. Ooh, what's it worth? I don't know. Boom. That's a nice platinum pull. 3%er. What else we got here? Some nice golds. We've had about five of these more so far. That 400 to 800 range. Let's go, let's go. Just go, boom, 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 bug spider. That's cool. What is it? Oh, it's a silver chase. That's fine. We still like it. Still rooting for you. Boom! Nice Dragonite. Nice. Silver chase. I mean, gold chase, not silver. There's a silver chase. Woo! Hydration. Going for the jugular today. Not quite a silver chase or gold chase. Gold. Wow, look at that discrepancy between the PSA estimate and the card ladder value. That's crazy. What's up, Spoon? Hey, blessed beyond measure. Yeah, I don't think we are going to acquire eBay. Like, I don't think that acquisition is actually going to happen, like finish, until after the comp plan is voted on. I think right now, I think there's really zero implications to the stock price over the next 5 weeks or 3 weeks. Like, really, there's no reason for it to be higher. Obviously, the longer that it stays lower, it's adding pressure to shorts. Like you see XRT on Reg Show. You're giving GameStop the opportunity to aggressively buy back the stock at 21 a share, as well as other institutions that might want a bite of the apple. But for whatever reason, apparently it's better for them right now for it to be low than high. But I don't think they can keep it low all the way through a eBay pricing, personally. What'd you get for that? What's it worth? Hmm. It won't tell me. Well, I don't know. I guess I could look up the cert number, but that's a little too much. He obviously made money on it because he was happy about it, so I'll just assume it was in the lowest making money category, and we will move forward. Wow, 6 months? Well, I can't log these for Q1 or what are we logging right now? Q2. That's crazy though that like he sold at 500 bucks and 6 months later it's a $2,000 card. Sold at 2,700 6 months later, it's a $5,000 to $7,000 card. Sold at 4,000, now it's a $7,000 card. Sold at 500, $2,500 card. Again, another double, up 60%, up 100%, up 100%, up over 100%. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm just saying, seems to me like our company's in a pretty good position. Pretty good position. Fred C says win shareholder value. You must be late to the stream, Freddie. It's a nice gold chase. Gold chase is coming in strong for the quarter so far. What do we got here? 500 bucks into 3,000? Wowza. What? Xbox, dude. Coming in with the gifted memberships. Give it up for Xbox, dude. Hey, great to see you here on a Friday. Welcome, fans of the channel. Kai Supreme, Archie Rich. Are you Archie Manning himself? Joe Rye, Jimmy Jam, Blessed Beyond Measure. Gifted memberships. Man, so glad to have you guys on board. Super thankful. All the earnings go to DRS Book GME shares. And hopefully y'all are enjoying. Sometimes you just got to exhale. It's been a rough couple weeks, honestly. Like, it hasn't been that fun on the stock. So sometimes for me, when the stock's doing boo-boo, I really like to lean into the fundamentals. That's why I've been talking so much about the earnings, talking so much about the valuation. Like, look at the truth because the price right now is definitely fake. And it's not usually my most highly watched videos, just focused on the fundamentals. Some of y'all might get kind of tired of it, but it's nice to just be on a long stream with y'all and just like, let's just take a breath for a sec. Remember what it is that our company is accomplishing. Let the time be taken that needs to be taken for it to fully play out. And don't get me wrong, guys, if this is 6 months from now and we're still at 21.5, I'm genuinely surprised and genuinely discouraged. Like, probably pretty heavily. Like, it doesn't mean it would be all over. Like, we might still see a lot of, you know, clear progress towards, okay, the eBay acquisition's probably going to go through by June of next year. That would still be fine, but I would be disappointed because it would mean a lot more to me financially if it happened this year compared to next year. Um, but big picture, when you look at the company, like when you look at what's really happening with the numbers, there is no disappointment here. Like when you start thinking about this, it's like, shoot, it really is just a matter of time. It's not a question of if. When you're looking at margins like this, operating income growth like this, right? Sales per store numbers like this, collectibles numbers like this. It is not a question of if anymore. It is just a question of when. And that is really, really genuinely exciting. But again, if all you ever do is stare at this, some days are like, man, it's a tough little stretch. I see enough to already be so excited. So why can't the stock be excited with me? You know what I mean? And so all that to say, sometimes it's nice to come to a place such as a stream like this where we can be excited together for what we know is a very highly valuable company. Fred C, I might encourage you to call a hotline. It sounds like you might need some help, to be honest. Yeah, Blessed Beyond Measure says having to extend the warrants would be a very embarrassing situation for GME. I'd be bummed, but I wouldn't find it like incredibly embarrassing, especially in light of the is that a 10? Was this one a 10 also? Okay, sweet. So this diamond is worth 3K. Sorry, one sec, guys. Got one of these, and then one of these came from a lunar. Puts you here. Boom. Yeah. It wouldn't be super embarrassing in light of what they've said with eBay. Like it would make sense for it to like that takes some time to materialize. They thought they would be able to, they obviously thought they'd be a little further along than they are because they literally said in Cohen's comp plan that this comp is going to be approved sometime in March or April. March or April. It's like, well, okay, it's July, so that is at least 3 months later than advertised. So again, if warrants get extended, but it's like a 6 month extension, to me that's like it's not particularly embarrassing. I got that neutronium, right? Yeah, yeah, I did. But I'd rather them not extend it, and I don't think they will extend it. To me, all the stars are lining up for green light starts on July 7th, and from July to September, GameStop goes hard in the paint. But it's possible that they do extend, and if they extend, then nothing really fundamentally changes. It just takes a little bit longer. You know, like one of Roaring Kitty's earlier streams, he talked about how, what did he say? 4 years seems a little excessive for a turnaround, or 5 years seems a little excessive for a turnaround. It should be more like three, whatever he said, something along those lines. It's like, well, it turns out the turnaround has turned. Like as of really like Q3 of 2025, like the turnaround has officially turned. The fundamental value has officially arrived as of Q3 numbers, which came out September of last year. So for 9 months, we have seen the turnaround fundamentally. We're just waiting for the stock to catch up. But when did Cohen get involved? Late 2020. So all of 2021, 22, 23, 24. That's 4.5 years. 4.5 years for the fundamental turnaround to take place. So if you bought in January of 2021, like I did, you knew, hey, a nice little insurance policy, if MOAS doesn't happen, is long term, Ryan Cohen's going to add fundamental value to this company. But you would have thought, oh, that'll probably take 3 years. Wrong, it took 4.5. So were you wrong? Well, no, you were early, not wrong. But if you're if you're too early, there's not that big of a difference between early and wrong, right? Like in hindsight, 5 years is a long, long time to wait to see absolutely no appreciation. Like that's pretty insane. That said, if you bought into something thinking worst case it'll take 3 years, it ends up taking 4.5. Well, right now we are in basically the ninth month of waiting for the fundamental turnaround to be priced into the stock. The fundamental turnaround just started when these numbers came out in September. So we're 9 months in, or I guess you could say we're 9 months late to what I would have thought you would have started to see a sustainable floor rising. We're 9 months late. If we were a year and a half late to getting to this point, does that mean we're going to be at maximum a year and a half late before this point starts to reflect on the stock? Well, that would mean that we are talking about March 2027. If the fundamental value is a year and a half late to reflecting on the stock price, just like the fundamental transformation was a year and a half late to materialize, and that means March 2027 is destiny. Is it so embarrassing for GameStop it doesn't if destiny doesn't come until March 2027? I mean, if they are worth double in March what they are now, I don't think that's super embarrassing. And what if they're worth 10 times what they are now? If in March, 9 months from now, they're worth 10 times what they are now, is that embarrassing? I don't think that's embarrassing. How'd they get a discount code? You got a discount code for PowerPacks? Oh, nice. Tell me. Wow, okay, you gotta buy a little bit of something and then they'll send you a discount code. Wow. 20% off. So maybe before I pull the Neutronium, I should snag a few lower threshold ones. Try to get me that discount code. Sneaky. There's a gold chase. How we doing? It's 426. Woo! Woo! I gotta start wrapping up. I mean, I got like half an hour, but I'm just saying I gotta pick up the pace here. I gotta pick up the pace. Chase. Starter chase. Gold chase. Oh, and a silver chase. Nice. Boom. Nice platinum. Turned a lunar into a less than a lunar. Ooh. Ooh. Look at that discrepancy again between PSA and card ladder. Those are some huge discrepancies. Oh, look, they give you an $8,000 offer. That's very interesting. Like, I wonder when this happens on Power Packs, it like, it's just, is GameStop registering that in this range or in this range? You know what I mean? It's got to be in the card ladder. But is it always in the card ladder? You wouldn't think so. But that one has to be. Because 1400 is lower than the lowest. So I guess for that one I'll log it here, but that's just kind of interesting. Still seems like there's some more a more efficient graded card valuation market To be developed. Nice silver chase. Check it out. They used the discount code on the neutronium and still ended up with a looser. Bummer. Hold on to that, and you got to figure it'll appreciate. Boom. Nice, nice lunar. Nice one. Gold chase. Oh, we're within days now. 28 days left. Boom. Nice neutronium. Dang. Dang. Nice. 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 Really excited to see what this revenue is looking like. Silver chase. Oof. Yikes. Go Pokemon, not football. Ooh. Two silver chases. Silver bells. Silver bell. Oh, a nice one. Another one. That's so hard to read. That is a silver chase. And a starter chase. Silvers are heating up. Nice silver chase. Oh, let's go. Here's a neutronium. What's it worth? Come on, just tell me what it's worth. Whatever. Oh no. Okay, phew. Well, I'll just put it in the worst one. I think we had another silver that I forgot about. Yeah, yeah. Use the discount on the lunar. 18. That's the worst. That is the worst. Boom. Man, everybody making money out here. Man, I've been missing out on these discounts. Boom. $1,000 off. That's just pretty sick. I need to get that. Boom. Diamond. Very nice diamond. Silver chase. Diamond. Let's go, diamond. Let's go, diamond. Let's go, silver chase. Oh, dang. They changed the code, only work for the lower value ones. Wow, that was short-lived. Okay. I guess I don't need the code now. Got a silver chase, two silver chase, and a starter chase. Nice platinum pull. What will the numbers tell us? Cannot wait to see. Oh, oh, that is miserable. What? Oh my gosh. No way. 34. Oh, that's two lunar chases. And is that a neutronium chase? Not quite. Holy crap. How much money are you spending on power packs, you crazy? Wow. Got a silver chase. What's that? Neutronium. Break even neutronium. Boom. Platinum. Silver chase. Break even neutronium. Silver. Oh, that's a gold. Not quite a chase. Not quite. There's a silver chase. Two silver chases. And a gold chase. Silver and gold are neck and neck right now. We're down to 23 days out. Let's go. Let's go. Nice diamond. Break even platinum. Nice little platinum. Nice little diamond. Here we go. Here we go. Do not care. What is this? Oh, nice. Another silver chase. Gold chase. The race continues. Where are we? Right here. Down to 20 days out now. Okay, two more of these. And another silver chase. LeBron James. Boom. Wow. Another lunar chase. Those are big money. Lunar chase is big money as it relates to revenue that it generates for GameStop. Nice platinum and nice lunar. Another nice platinum. Another nice platinum. Another nice platinum. Okay. Okay. Platinum's holding their weight today. Silver Chase, 18 days out. Two more platinums. One here, one there. Oh, silver starting to pull away from gold. Another nice platinum. What's going on? Them platties. Starter Chase. Oh, it's such a fun card. Love Cubone. What do y'all think about Meowth? The 2000s Meowth? I started feeling like he's pretty cool. It's the one where he's happy and all the coins are like behind him. I started feeling like I think Meowth might age kind of well. Because he's always just like trying to get money. And I feel like when you're thinking about Pokemon cards, a lot of people hold it as a store of value, thinking like they're trying to get some money, they're trying to get some appreciation on their cards. You know what I mean? And I just thought underrated value play in the world of Pokemon. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This guy, this guy graded nice. I just feel like it's a nice little card. I'm trying to collect some of those. I'm putting it out there. There's a silver chase. There's two silver chases. That's cool. Dang. Okay, another nice platinum. Two more silver chases. How far are we out now? 15 days out. We're narrowing in. Narrowing in. That's funny. Nice. Ooh. Platinum strikes again. Gold chase. Ooh, that hurt you, boy. Ooh, that hurt you, boy. Oh, they're getting refunded? Congrats. What do we got? Okay. Marvin the Martian. It's great to see you, man. Finally made it live. I'm glad you're here. I am 10 days away from getting a solid estimate for PowerPacks Q2 numbers, and I'm very excited about it. We talked a lot of stock earlier. We reviewed the most recent interview that got released today from Mr. Cohen and Mr. Pierce. That was lovely. Did a little bit of valuation and trajectory for the future. A little bit of expectations that I have for the stock in the coming days. Okay, it's two more of those. Evie is so cute. It was a short interview. There's a little bit in there. Whoa, Diamond Chase. Let's go. Let's go. I love it when people say this. I'm never opening another pack in my life. It's like, yeah, good luck. With that kind of rush, just clearing freaking 12 grand, you're definitely gonna open another one. You're gonna open one next week. There's two more silver chases. That's cool. We are in single digits, 7 days out. Let's go. There's a gold chase to go along with our silvers. Another decent platinum. It's another solid platinum. One of those and one of these. Boom. Another diamond chase. Let's finish strong. Let's finish strong. 6 days left. What do we got? Silver chase. Platinum boost tank. Silver chase and starter chase. Is not finishing strong. And a break-even lunar. Come on. Come on, let's finish strong. Let's go crazy now. See, people don't even post their starter chases anymore. It's not even, it's like just crazy the amount of revenue that this product is doing, honestly. Nice neutronium. A less nice neutronium. A very nice diamond. Solid. Three days out. Boom, gold chase. Let's go. What else we got? What else we got? Feeling a little slow. 584%. That looks like a gold chase. Two gold chases. Boom. And we had one of these as well. One day out. What's it gonna be? Another beautiful diamond. Oops, wrong way. What? Look at that discrepancy again. PSA estimate versus card ladder. 4,600 versus 400. I don't even know how to log that. Starter chase. We're down to the hours now. You're not even going to tell me what it's worth. It's another starter chase. There is a gold chase. Yeah. Two more of these. Boom. One more of these. Boom. Here you go. Here's where we ended. And now let's go to PowerPacks on X and see if from May 4th, are there any pulls posted here that were not obviously also posted over there? That's announcing the new type of pack. Wow. So this got pulled. That is a neutronium chase that I probably did not already have logged. This is on May 6th. If they posted on May 6th, I had updated through May 6th. So I'm going to leave this one alone. Maybe I already had that one counted. This one I for sure did not have counted. So that is a neutronium chase. Boom. What do you get?
One. Joe to the player.
What do you get?
We've done it for Joe.
So extreme. Is that what everyone on YouTube is like? It's just like so much yelling. Okay. Got that one. What else we got? Wow, new cards added. Man, look at that thing. So card. Starter chase. Okay. Lunar in a 10-5. Nice. We'll go ahead and add the starter chase as well. Boom. On a neutronium, 34K. Wow. Wow. Silver chase. Some cool platinums. Another starter chase. Oh, we already got that one. Oh no, we didn't because they uh they didn't post the value on it on that post. There's that. There's those two. Last few posts here. Bucks binder, silver chase. Ooh, nice. Wimby chase card. Chase card. Tomorrow's my wife's birthday. It's also the birthday party of my boys. I think I logged that one. I think we saw this one. Because my son's birthday, Hudson, he turned 5 on the 13th. And my other son, Beckham, turned 7 on the 22nd. So tomorrow is their joint birthday party, but it's also on my wife's birthday. So that's kind of what I've got going on. Nice platinum chase. How did we do, by the way? Did we seal the deal? I was gonna watch this game, but I thought I would come to you guys instead. Sealed it. 2-0, baby. Viva America. Nice. Okay, we're current there as well. Boom. Now for the grand reveal. For the grand reveal. Zamora said I pulled a Lunar and got a PSA 9 Charizard. Did you do it in Q2, Zamora? Did you do it sometime in May, June, or July? Okay, let's check it out. Here's the numbers. It wasn't Q2. Okay, fine. I'll add it some more. But if you're lying, someone's going to come for you. But it won't be me. Boom. There's Zamora's Lunar. Let's see. We're halfway through. Barely over halfway through. And so far, the revenue represented for Q2 is boop. Oh, let's go. Let's go. We're on pace for $50 million of revenue that's what I have logged, right? That's not the total revenue. That's what I've been able to log. Okay. 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 So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Let's go. Q2. Q2 posted sales. We are talking about from the post, all of it together, already 25 million. And from the chase card number, we are looking at 19 million. So last quarter, I had been tracking both GameStop's X account and this PowerPacks deal for the whole quarter. I tried to catch up for Q3 and 4, but obviously my tracking for Q3 and 4 not quite as accurate. In Q1, my tracking represented 40% of the estimated sales on the chase card basis or 53% on the total posts basis, according to my sales estimate based on their financials of something like 68 million in revenue in Q1. So in Q2, right now, we're a little less than halfway there. So let's just, for the sake of this estimate right now, let's just multiply this by what, 1.8? Or let's just divide it by 0.55. Let's say we're 55% of the way through. That would mean that my tracking, if the rest of Q2 keeps pace, that we will end up counting about 45 million total or 34 million of just chase cards, which is about a 30% improvement quarter over quarter from what I've tracked. What I tracked, you can see the trajectory here. In the most conservative sense, from 7 million up to 17, up to 27, up to now maybe 35 in chase card sales. If I, in Q2, just like in Q1, have successfully captured 40% of the total revenue that PowerPacks is doing on a chase card basis, or 53% of what they're doing on a posted sales basis, which was the case in Q1, then that would indicate something like an $85 million revenue number, which would almost surely not reach materiality for Q2. On the earnings number, if this is the revenue, almost surely it would not reach materiality on the income basis either. If they're doing something like 10% margins, then we end up with what? If they end up, sorry, 85 million. Let's say they do 85 million. Let's just do it here for a sec. If they do 10% margins, that would just be a $4 million income number. Is GameStop going to do less than 40 million in operating income in Q2? No, they are not. So, or sorry, let me redo this here for a second. This is the number we're looking at. If they're doing 10% margins, it's 8.5 million of PowerPacks operating income. So the question is, will GameStop do more than 85 million in operating income in Q2? Last Q2 they did 66. Probably they're going to do more than 85 in Q2. So I would think that if 40% is the new standard, then materiality would not be reached in Q2. If my tracking is closer to the 20 or 25% like it was in Q1 and 2, then we end up with 246 million. Oh, that's not the right numbers. 135 million in, or as high as 172. If this is 20%, then this number is 172 million. If PowerPacks did 172 million in Q2, then definitely materiality would be reached. Is the Neutronium pack enough to create that level of growth quarter over quarter? Probably not. Probably not quite that extreme. Um, so honestly, I would think PowerPacks probably doesn't hit materiality, but the trackable growth still very clear. Still very clear. So what does that mean from a PowerPacks valuation perspective? These revenue numbers, 5, 6, $750 million, probably more accurately lower. The margins are the big question. we still don't really know, right? I think the 10, 13, and, or sorry, 9, 10, and 15% margins, probably a little too conservative. But what's kind of fair on the revenue trajectory? I mean, I think if you're looking at 150 million for Q1 and 2, you're continuing to grow. You think Q3 and 4 are probably going to be bigger than Q1 and 2, and obviously it's continuing to grow quarter over quarter. I would guess that if you did 150 in Q1 and 2 together, you're probably able to do at least 250 in Q3 and 4. It'd be my guess, like something like 250 on the, I guess you could say 200 in the floor case. I don't see a way that PowerPacks does less than 200. Floor case margins of 9% gives you an income of $8 million, assuming 10 million of SG&A. What type of PE do you give that business? If it is still growing that fast, I think 29 is really still a little bit too low. But if the margins are 9%, perhaps 29 is still kind of fair. Uh, in the worst case type of scenario, I think a $300 million kind of fair case, or no, more like 400 fair case, right? 150 million over Q1 and 2, plus 250 in Q3 and 4 is kind of the base case of what I would expect. I think margins, giving 11% margins here feels appropriate. Continuing to grow pretty quick, something like a 40 PE. It's pretty fair. Call this a 30. Fly case, I think probably bring this down a little bit based on what we learned. 600 million fly case. Margins up at 15%. It's possible. It's possible. I'm excited to find out. I don't want to, it could be 17, it could even be 21 technically, but I don't think so. I think 15 is still a fair fly case scenario and a PE of 50. So what happens basically the valuation goes from 1.1 billion to like 860 million in terms of what I thought PowerPacks was going to report in Q1 versus what they actually reported, and then what the trajectory of Q2 kind of informs us moving forward. Now, I could be too bearish again. 40% might not be the norm. It might be closer to 20 or 25%. And if it is, well, then this number is at like 150 million, and all of a sudden we are hitting materiality. So I could be too low on it now, but no matter what, it is a nice little bump. You know, it represents $1 or $2 a share of fair value, up to maybe $4 a share of fair value that will be added to GameStop's valuation once PowerPacks materiality is reached. So there's a little PowerPacks update for you to top off this very long live stream. So all that to say, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it a lot. If you learn anything, let me know in the comments. If you're watching this after the fact, let me know in the comments. And I will see you guys, I mean, in the next one, right? See you in the next one, right? Thanks again for the new members. Thanks again for the super chats or gifted memberships. Thanks to those who have joined the channel and those who have just faithfully been a part of the channel for many, many months now. Hopefully I can add and continue to add a little bit of value to you guys. So anyways, that is all I got for you today. I will see you in the next one. Cheers.